Sri Lanka is one united nation again and fast on its way to a bright new future. A generation of present-day Sri Lankans have paid dearly for this opportunity, some with the ultimate sacrifice. And therefore we owe it to them to ensure that future is somehow secured for our future generations. We at the Sri Lanka Rupawahini Corporation, being the national television station of this republic, considered it our duty to be actively involved in the formulation of that future Sri Lanka. Thus we bring you Checkmate, the stories of some ordinary people who have travelled an extraordinary journey, gone that extra mile, stayed up that extra hour to make something more out of their lives in this country, so that you too may be encouraged to aspire for such greatness. A new Sri Lanka. Together we can.
Hello and welcome to another program of Checkmate. My guest tonight is no new name to a Sri Lankan household. He certainly needs no introduction in Sri Lanka, as indeed the whole world. His mission and vision in life has been a revelation not just to us in Sri Lanka, but all over the world. Some of his achievements themselves are a testimony to what this man has achieved. He has won the Raman Magsaysay Award for Community Leadership, the Gandhi Peace Prize, and he has also won the Acharya Sushil Kumar International Peace Award for the year 2005. Incidentally, another recipient of this prize has been His Holiness the 14th Dalai Lama. In 2007, he received the highest national honor that a living Sri Lankan can receive, the Sri Lanka Bhimanya. I speak of none other than Sri Lanka Bhimanya, Dr. A.T. Ariyaratne. Ayubowan, Dr. Ari. Welcome to the show.
Ayubowan.
Well, I don't know whether my producer will give me enough time to discuss everything that Sri Lanka will want to hear from you, but let's try and get through as much as we can. Let's go back to where all stories begin, the beginning. Let's talk of the young Dr. Ari, then A.T. Ariyaratne, when you were born way back in 19, I hope you don't mind telling me the year, in 1931. Talk us through your childhood.
Well, I was supposed to have been born in 1931, November 5th, at 6:17 p.m.
Okay.
That's what I have heard. The earliest I can remember is that as a toddler, I used to go to the temple, which was next door to mine. So I used to climb the steps and go there. So when I was, I think, 2.5 to 3 years, I could read the alphabet, because the Nayaka Thero in the temple very fondly taught me the first letters. So much so when I went to school at the age of 5. In fact, before that, I used to go to school with my sister, because nobody was at home to look after me, so I used to go with my sister.
So your family had you, your sister?
Sister, and of course I had 2 elder sisters, 1 younger brother and 2 younger sisters. So there were 6 of us in all, 2 boys and 4 girls. I was the 3rd in the family.
So how was that exposure as in your family life, very large family life?
I believe that I don't believe in these modern day statistical families where you say 1, 2, 3, 4 formula, 1 wife, 2 children, 3-roomed house and 4 wheels. That is what I remember once Dr. Schumacher told me read the Western formula. I don't believe in that. I believe that provided the parents can afford it, they should have a certain number of children, not necessarily 6. I have 6 children, not necessarily 6, but that's a good number for the children to go with correct kind of personality awakening.
So sorry, from that family exposure, you become a student at Mahinda College, Gaul.
That's much later.
Right.
Then the war came, Second World War, and we were all taken to Balangod area, to a village called Maddakanda, where my father had his wholesale and retail business. So we were there from 1939 to 44. So during that period, I had to attend we all had to attend the school there. And I got through my junior school certificate examination. Those days it was called JSC at the age of 11 because there were no children in the 4th grade, no children in the 5th grade. So I was admitted to the 6th and there were no children in the 7th. So I had to sit the exam with the others for the JSC.
Who were much senior to you.
So fortunately I got through.
Yes.
And then I shifted to Bonavista, Gaul.
Right.
Because I was very anxious to learn English and spent a year there and then got admitted to Mahinda College, Gaul, where I had my entire education there. And after the university entrance examination, I taught for a short period for 3 months at Mahinda as a volunteer.
Right. So before we get to that stage, Dr. Aryam, now for the future benefit of Sri Lankans, this is going to be archived by the national television, by Rupavahini. I just want to speak of that youth that you experienced, your maybe your senior school life. Did that have any influence at all to what Dr. Ari became now, what Dr. Ari is now? Did you see, looking back now, do you see some semblance of what you're doing now in you as a youth?
Very much so. My entire life was influenced first by my own family, because my father, though he was not a poor man, he had enough to feed us and also help the community. But he was not a stingy man. He didn't live to make money. He lived to practice a religious life, at the same time serve the community. Similarly, in the temple, the monks were highly educated and disciplined. Then the school, I can't remember much about the school at Unawatuna where I was born, but Maddakanda school I can very well remember. And the 5 years I spent there, I think I saw what poverty is, I saw what highest cultural values are, I saw our good traditions. Maybe that was an area where 6,000 years ago Ravana had established a very cultured, highly civilized society according to history. Maybe those people there had that high level of culture. So I was very much influenced by 3 factors as a young man. One, the importance of spirituality in life, importance of morality in life, importance of culture in life. Spiritual, moral and cultural foundations should be there for social, economic and political development in any society.
Right. So we are going to gradually come there. So you, having had that exposure as a young man, then you go on to become a teacher.
Yeah.
Now, somewhere down the line, just to get our perspectives on the timeline, you earn a bachelor's degree in economics, and then of course subsequently you're conferred an honorary doctorate in a D.Lit and then also another doctorate in humanities. But do you start teaching, you start your life as a teacher, so the young Dr. Ari, the young Ari starts life as a teacher, and then it is subsequently that you get into the educational pursuits. Is that how it happened?
Well, I was very much influenced by Mahinda College. We had excellent teachers and excellent principal and very good traditions, and it was an all-round kind of education. That contributed very much to me. Because of an illness, I couldn't get into the university, but I got selected to the Maharagama Teachers Training College, which was a very prestigious institution at that time, and got qualified as a science-trained teacher and joined Nalanda College. So again, Nalanda had a very good tradition, and I had the opportunity to know Mr. P.D.S. Kulratne, Mr. L.H. Methananda, and Professor G.P. Mallasekar, and such great men of this country, so that I couldn't but follow on their footsteps as a young man. So I was, I think, very much influenced by those values, though I was very much exposed to Western values. I got leave from Nalanda College and got a bachelor's degree, which of course I didn't have to work very hard. I just sat and got through. Then 3 universities conferred me doctorates in Philippines, in Japan, and in Sri Lanka. So I thank all of them. And then, more than learning at school or in universities, I had the good fortune to move about with a lot of great men in the world, both religious, spiritual leaders, as well as great economists, Nobel Prize winners, political leaders. For example, for the last about 30 years or more, I have been an advisor to what is called Interaction Council. Interaction Council consists of ex-heads of state, and the present chairman is Dr. Michael Schmidt, former Chancellor of Germany.
These are ex-heads of state in the world.
Yes, former heads of state
in the world
formed this Interaction Council, and they advise the present heads of state and the United Nations and others about development, peace, and those subjects.
It must be an accumulation of wisdom gained over the years.
Yeah. So they appointed 5 advisors at that time, and I was the youngest. And I am the only living. Other 4 are dead and they are being replaced by others. I don't know why I am still living.
Well, we are so glad that you are, and we hope that you will continue for much longer, more to the benefit of Sri Lanka. Now, Dr. Ari, if I can now quickly take you to, okay, so these 3 fundamentals that you saw as a youth, spirituality, morality, and the cultural value that one sees. Now, somewhere down the line, these mold into what we see today as the Sarvodaya movement. Now, I'm not going to take a leap from there to here, but if we can, at what stage do you get interested in taking these personal principles that motivated you onto a more public scale?
Yeah. When I was at my village after the Second World War, we came back home, and while I was attending Mahinda College, I was very distressed to see that only about 8 families in our village, which had over 1,000 families, only about 8 families had the opportunity to come to Galle Town and attend schools and learn through English medium. So that struck me very much. In the evenings, when I was still 12, 13 years of age, I used to have classes, English, arithmetic, and that kind of thing for the village children free. And from that age, I was moved to help people. I saw young women in the village who were making koya yarn. When I found out that those people are exploited 10 to 15 rupees a week, while they get 2-3 rupees, the middleman makes about 15 rupees. I started when I was about 16 years of age, first Koya Workers Cooperative Society in Sri Lanka. So there was no way of getting it registered. With 89 members, my father and uncle gave the money to start the whole thing. I came to Colombo. I didn't know Colombo. I heard that there was a place called Independence Square where we are now. I walked in and I want to go to the Rural Development Department or Rural Industries. I saw a board, Home Ministry. Then I walked up the stairs. Then I saw a familiar face I had seen in the newspaper. That was Mr. Ariyaratne. He was the minister. He was coming down the stairs. I was going up. He said, "Honey, where are you going?" I said, "Sir, I am coming to meet you." Yeah.
You didn't know him?
I didn't know him. He said, "Come on, let's go up." And he went back to the office. "What's your problem?" So I said, "This is the problem. Get some law to register this society, because I have managed to get the first salary also given to these people." "But how can you do it? You are still a student." Uncle, "Yes, sir, while studying at Mahinda, I am doing this." "Very good." And he called somebody. Yes. I remember one, Mr. Salgado. Yes. "See that he registered." And immediately he said, "No way of registering." "Then start from today a registration process." And I am sure the records will say that the first ever cooperative worker society. That's how I started. Right. Then when I left the village and went to Maharagama Teachers Training College, yes, first social services league was formed there. Right. Education society was formed there. Then I came to Nalanda. Right. Then
so before we come to how Sarvodaya came to be, right, this is your initial interaction on how the social projects started, right, and how you got involved with the grassroots level people. Yeah. We are going to come to that very quickly. That is the next stage of how Dr. A.T. Ariyaratne built what today is the worldwide Sarvodaya movement. We'll come back to it shortly. Now, January 1972, Dr. Ariyaratne, is another stage of your life. The earlier incidents that you were speaking of that revolved on, like you meeting Mr. Ratnayaka, things happening suddenly. Another similar incident takes place that becomes a major step in your life. The teacher, A.T. Ariyaratne, takes another step in January 1972. Do you want to talk us through that?
Actually, from 1956, when I got into the field of education, I was not happy with the kind of education we were imparting to our children. There are very good things also, but as a whole I was not satisfied. I wanted to take education from the classroom, from textbooks and examinations to the broader world, so that a student, while learning at school or university, also learns from the community. So, from Maharagama Training College itself, there are still those who have been studying with me. We started these projects. And then when I came to Nalanda College, there was a good social services society, and with them in 1958 started what became Sarvodaya later, from Kanatuluwa and so many other villages to follow.
Yes.
Then
1972 you asked for some leave and something happened. Yes.
59, from 59 we called it Shramadana, 60 we called it Sarvodaya. Then from 60 to 72 we were going on, we became an approved charity, our organization. In 72 I thought it's time that I concentrate full time on this, because I couldn't do the school work as well as this, particularly being a science teacher for higher classes. Then I asked for no pay leave for 2 years to go to every school in the country and propagate this idea. I was refused. Then I decided to get sacked. So I told them I am not coming to work from January 1st, 1972. I have completed my examination work for the students. Now you can sack me. And I started devoting full time for Sarvodaya.
Can I just stop you there and ask you, obviously there are going to be hopefully another 10 to 15 at least upcoming Dr. A.T. Ariyaratnes watching this program in Sri Lanka, and they may be faced in a similar situation where a choice has to be made.
Yes.
Do I follow my heart? Do I follow this dream?
Yes.
Or do I feel secure in the comfort zone that I am now? I'm getting a salary, I have a job, I have a family to tend to.
I think
What made you make that decision?
I think that's a decision that every human being worth the name human should make at one stage of his or her life or other. I have known many people of my age, younger people, older people. One man told me in the presence of a great national leader, he said, "Ari, I am going to earn and earn and earn till I die." When I told him, "Do some work for the poor, you are a millionaire." That same night, 1 hour after we left, I get a call from my well-known friend. If I tell the name, the whole country will know.
Yes, I don't think we need
No,
to.
I am not. So he telephoned me and said, "That man lived to his word. He died, just now he died."
So he earned and earned and earned and he died.
Yeah.
Yes.
So what I would
Yes, so,
tell...
so what was your response when you went home and you tell your dear wife, "I have just quit my job and I have come home"?
Fortunately, she quit her job at Mahabodhi College. She was teaching for 2 years. She quit and became the first volunteer.
Right.
So it was not a shock to her when I said, and we had about 50 students there from villages who were being trained as community leaders. After training 3 months, they go back to their villages, boys and girls. They are the people who pioneered the movement. When I told her, I asked her whether there was food to eat that night. She said yes. Tomorrow morning, yes. Tomorrow lunch, no. I said, okay, we have two meals, fine. That's how we started.
Yes. And then something happens.
That's well, I had given a talk in Geneva to the WHO on basic human needs.
Yes. Now I just want to set the stage for our viewers, because this is the whole idea of this whole venture.
So when
you come home, in addition to your family, there are 50 other children who need to be fed on
That's
what
right.
you earn.
That's right.
And all you have money for is for that night
Yes.
and for tomorrow morning.
Yes.
And you don't know how you're going to feed them lunch.
No.
50 in plus your
Right,
family.
right.
And then what happens?
Then that night, I used to go to sleep last, 10 o'clock. I go to close the gate. Then there was some car to find there was a white lady from Geneva, WHO office. She was passing from Bangkok back to Geneva. She couldn't contact me over the phone. She came just to get my signature to publish an article as an article, a public speech I had given in Geneva to the WHO on basic human needs, which was later published in the WHO journal. And she gave me a check which was enough for 3 months for us. So with my salary only a month we could go on.
Yes.
So I gave the money to her and said, now
we can go on for 3 months.
3 months.
Right. I'm now quickly going to fast track Dr. Ari, because we are also fighting economizing in time. I'm sure you understand economics much more than I do. Now you have thereafter this whole movement, the Sarvodaya movement, has thereafter taken certain stands which the world has now identified as pillars or basic stands of what the Sarvodaya movement stands for. So what you started slow there has now built to this large network that you call the Sarvodaya Shramadana movement today. And it has been said that you stand on Gandhian ideals, on Buddhist philosophy and spirituality, ecumenical spirituality. Yeah. If we can quickly, how is your influence, how were you influenced by Gandhi very quickly, yeah, and then how does that move on to Buddhist philosophy?
When we started the movement, of course I knew the name Gandhi, but I didn't know about his philosophy or anything. But the whole thing was based on Buddhist philosophy, loving kindness and all that, because I got various principles in Buddhism like four Brahma Viharas implemented, Satara Sangraha to implement like that, and went on till about 1956, 57 period, right, when I got the opportunity to go to India and meet Acharya Vinoba Bhave. He was going on a land gift mission, asking people to give land for the landless. And there I listened to a lecture. This was 1960 in New Delhi by one Professor Ramachandran, where Prime Minister Nehru was there and other great Indian freedom leaders were there. He used the word Sarvodaya.
Right.
And
which means the awakening of all.
I gave that interpretation.
You gave the interpretation. Okay.
There Sarva Udaya means, right, Sarvam Udaya means welfare of all.
Okay.
So immediately when I heard this, I thought this is Sabbe Satta Sukhi Hontu,
right,
Buddha's word. So
right,
I came it and gave the interpretation, this is awakening of all.
Right.
Then I started interpreting it in philosophical terms, Paurushodaya, personality awakening,
yes,
Gramodaya, village awakening.
Yes, I'm going to come to that. But very quickly now, what you saw as their Sarva Udayam, welfare for all, which you interpreted to be the awakening of all, and we know that you are a master at coining words. Now we know that, for example, Sarvodaya Savan Sahana is a term that you coined. Now then, it also shows us that at the center of all your socio-political efforts, there is a center stage that people take place. You center it around the development of the person. So much so that certain commentaries on you say that the call of this movement has been a non-violent spiritual revolution to replace structural violence as the basis of social order. Now this is almost a political movement.
Yes, actually Sarvodaya is a political movement also. It's a spiritual movement, a moral movement, a cultural movement, social movement, economic and political. It's a political movement in the sense of not capturing political power at the top. None of us have ever contested a seat or ever supported any side, but all are friends in the political field.
Yes. So this is what I'm so
there are two kinds of politics.
Yes, I was just going to
power oriented.
That is so.
Party politics.
That is so. I was just going to ask you, Dr. Ariyaratne.
Yeah.
Now, the usual student of political science, which you and I both know, center the study of politics is as a science that revolves around power.
Right.
For example, if you look at the social contract theories of Hobbes, Locke or Rousseau,
Right.
or even if you translate it to the Marxist socialist theories,
Yes.
they all, starting from Machiavelli of the 16th century,
Right.
they all talk of the power-centric
Power.
politics, that politics is a game of accumulating power.
Power.
But you distinguish your revolution, your political revolution, you distinguish from that power-based politics.
Right.
And identify it as an upliftment of the people.
People. Yes.
But then, isn't it ironic that even in terms of our constitution, it is the Sri Lankan people that hold this so-called power. The sovereign power of this nation lies with the Sri Lankan people.
Well, you have to look at it this way. We all take great pride as citizens of this country, as people. Oh, we hold the sovereign power, but we all know that we have no power. You see, but the real power lies with what you call pancha niyama dharmas. Dharma or the cosmic law pertaining to genetic order, that is bija niyama. Cosmic law pertaining to utu niyama, seasons. Cosmic law pertaining to kamma niyama. Cosmic law pertaining to chitta niyama, consciousness. Cosmic law pertaining to dhamma niyama, phenomena. These are the 5 laws that really govern the world. That is dharma shakti.
Yes.
Sarvodaya is dependent on dharma shakti, 100%. Number 2, dharma shakti over a period of time conveys certain good manners, regulations, rules, traditions to people. That is called jananiti. So, sarvodaya depends on jananiti next. Third, we cannot do without the rajaniti or state. We come to it third. But with the first 2, we can avoid lot of problems.
The interaction with that supreme niti that you
right.
saw. So what you are trying to say is, if you operate at that lower level,
Yes.
and if you operate upon the jananiti, which are a self-ruling exercise in itself,
Yes.
you don't necessarily need to interact with that upper niti that you need to grapple with, which
Yes.
has a source of power behind it.
That's right.
Right. Well, we are going to come to that very quickly, but this is an interesting stage, so we will come to that quickly. Dr. Ariyaratne, some people, rightly or wrongly, have identified your principles, putting them together with your Buddhist philosophy, and identify you as a Buddhist economist. How justified is that criticism?
You know, giving names is a bad thing, but maybe it's justified this way. Samma Ajiva. For example, Samma Ajiva is clearly pertaining to the right livelihood, which we preach and practice. Number 2, the Dr. Schumacher, who wrote a book called Small is Beautiful, had a chapter on Buddhist economics, which interested the whole world about Buddha's teachings about economics. And I happened to be his friend. So, I was asked to give his memorial lecture after he died. So, quite accidentally I plunged into it. Then Schumacher College invited me to come and give in London 10 talks on Buddhist economics. So, except what we have been practicing in the Sarvodaya movement, I didn't have any other experience with regard to this, but the Dhamma references I had, and I gave the 10 lectures, and they published this as a book. And I think this book had very wide publicity, and all over the world most of the universities are basing this book to start their studies on Buddhist economics.
Yes. So I was just going to come to that. Now you have traveled all over. I know you lectured in Japan, you've lectured in New York, you've traveled extensively. You've lectured at several universities, which is more the reason why I think Sri Lanka needs to take cognizance of what you're going to tell the future of Sri Lanka now. But before we get there, a criticism, if I may.
Yes.
Now you have gone on record criticizing the West. You are not seen, Dr. A.T. Ariyaratne of the Sarvodaya movement is not reported to be a man who takes a liking to the West, particularly where your cultural values and things are concerned. But then the criticism is that that is a hypocrisy in itself, because you have several allegiances to the West, like you just said. Several of your donor communities, for example, are from the West. You have very good friends in the West. So how do you justify that distinction?
You see, I am not against the West. I am quite at home, even in Russia or China or America or England or anywhere. I have been to all these countries in the 5 continents, not all, but at least nearly 100. In all these places I have been quite at home, but I rejected totally Western materialistic approach. I rejected totally Western approach of centralized governance. I rejected totally the way that natural resources are being wasted just for affluent living. So those are the things for which I was opposed to, not other things. So even in those countries, there are so many people who accept these values. Therefore, it's not generally anti-Western, but certain materialistic values which are bad anywhere, I have rejected.
Right. But then moving from there, I think that's I believe that's justified. Moving from there, very quickly to what you have gone on record and saying. You say that you intend to, and you have been actively working for peace in Sri Lanka for many decades, and that the only way to peace, you believe, is by dispelling of the view I and mine and shedding of self, mamatve or mamagana. And you believe that is the realization of the true doctrines of how Sri Lanka can go to the future that it should. Now I'm going to ask you to attach that to your recent comments at the Commission on Peace and Reconciliation. I know that you were invited to speak there. What does Dr. A.T. Ariyaratne have for the future, with this new future that we have been given now in Sri Lanka after several years of a conflict, of a bloody conflict? We are going to the future. What does A.T. Ariyaratne have to tell the future Sri Lanka?
I would say, when you talk the future, government has a certain role to play. More than the government, we the citizens have a greater role to play. As long as we citizens dwell on our ego, I am a Sinhalese, I am a Buddhist, I am a high class man, this won't do. You know, we have to feel that this entire nation, forget the world, think of this nation as one human family. Whatever the distinctions we have between caste, race, religion and all this, we should be able to have one common identity, a Sri Lankan identity. And there are many things each individual can do for creating this kind of Sri Lankan identity. For this we have to go to the root of religious teachings. The crux of religious teachings is nothing but spirituality. When you look at science, science says all of us, all living organisms are interconnected. If you look at Buddhism or Hinduism, it's quite agreed that all of us are interconnected. Now, Venerable Thich Nhat Hanh coined a new word called interbeing. I live in you, you live in me, we live in others. So this kind of spiritual philosophy should be inculcated in every human being, every child, every student, which we can do. So peace can be achieved by transforming our consciousness first. Second is, we have to have an economy which is sustainable, which is not just imitating the West. We can have an economy where there is no poverty. We should not aim at establishing a society where there is affluence. All can't be affluent. We don't have enough resources all to be affluent, but we have enough resources to completely eliminate poverty in this country within 2 years. Thirdly, we should build a new political system, not by dividing the country, not by giving Elam or something else some others may ask, but decentralizing the entire governing process so that good governance begins with every village. I am talking through experience. We are working in 15,000 villages in the country. Out of that, in 6,000 villages, we have implemented or we are implementing a certain economic system as an experiment, which is very successful. With government help, we can do much more. Then there is the political system we are trying out. It's not based on party or power politics, but a participatory system of governance. We call it Gram Swaraj.
Right.
Now, Gram Swaraj, Mahatma Gandhi coined that word Gram Swaraj, but before that, Lichavis and Vajjins in India, even in Sri Lanka, Ruhunu Maya Pihiti, the foundation was self-governing village communities. So there was no communal problem at all that came up during that time. So this kind of decentralization or devolution of power based on ethnicity and that kind of thing, I don't believe in that. Because as much as a Sinhalese can oppress a Tamil can oppress a Sinhalese, or Tamil can oppress a Tamil, it all depends on the human being's spiritual awakening, how much he sees at the essence of human life.
Absolutely. Dr. Ariyaratne, I think we must leave it there for today. I do believe that, as both of us discussed, you are a walking resource for Sri Lanka, and maybe we can hopefully invite you once again, maybe to go into a bit more detail on some of these facts that we discussed. But certainly we at the national television, at Rupavahini, and Sri Lanka as a whole has been an absolute beneficiary of your wisdom, sir, of your thought, and of sharing all that with you. And as I thank you, I'm sure we both know this quotation, someone that you very closely followed in your movement, neighboring shores gentleman who you found later in life, you say, called Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi, said that a small body of determined spirits quenched by an desire, an unquenchable thirst in their mission, can alter the course of history. Yeah. Dr. Ari, may your visions and visions of Sri Lanka be such a vision that envisions and brings in social change in Sri Lanka the way you plan it. Thank you very much, Ivan.
Thank you, Ivan.
And so, we bid you adieu for the moment, with the hope of seeing you again on a Checkmate very soon. If we do so, we leave you with these words from H.W. Longfellow. Heights by great men reached and kept were not attained by sudden flight, for they, whilst their companions slept, were toiling upwards in the night. Young Sri Lanka will see you again on a Checkmate soon.